I'm going to just bring one of the drawings that I previously imported and saved as a template into the library. I've got Luna, the character, with all of her layers on the timeline, and you can see these are all the different parts that were created inside of Adobe Photoshop and imported directly inside of Harmony as bitmaps. Toon Boom Harmony will allow you to animate in various styles of animation, starting with frame by frame, also called paperless animation, all the way to cutout or puppet animation, of course, which we will take a look at a little bit later. But first, let me bring in a template here, which will illustrate how easy it is to animate with paperless. Let's take a look at this animation here first. You can see the bat running, jumping onto the gems. At the beginning of the animation, you can see that she has not been painted yet. Obviously, this would be the part where you would draw your various poses for your animation. And you can do so either in the camera view so that you can see all of the environment, or you can go focus into the drawing view by selecting one of the layers that you would like to focus on. In here, you can of course make use of all of the drawing tools that we looked at previously, whether being bitmap or vector, brush or pencil, textured or solid. And you can also make use of the onion skin, for example, to show you your next and previous drawings. That is, if you've created a new drawing over here, for example, and you would like to see what your previous drawings looked like, so that you can anticipate the animation. The onion skin tool has an advanced onion skin tab over here, where you can select exactly which frames you would like to see the onion skin of, as well as changing the opacity of the various onion skins. Now, for each drawing that you draw in Harmony, you have access to multiple layers. For the gaming export and for the opportunity to use the Unity export, you can only make use of the line and the color art. For the single sprite sheet export, you can use, of course, as many art layers as you would like, such as the overlay and the underlay as well. So in this example, you have the line on the line art layer, and the colors will then come onto the color art. You can, by default, create a color layer automatically. As you draw onto your lines, your color art will also be drawn automatically, if that's how you would like it to work. When it comes to coloring, of course, we have the ability to create as many palettes as you want to. Each element or character in your scene could have its own color palette, and inside of that color palette, you can have as many colors as you would like. When it comes to coloring, we've got different types of paint tools. The paint, paint unpainted, repaint, unpaint. We've got the ability to also draw with the strokes directly. So if I use the paint tool, I can simply just choose the color I want to use and start painting inside of my paint areas. Of course, I may not know exactly where those paint areas need to be, so I can make use of the model view. This is where you could draw the first or paint the first frame and use that frame as a model. Or you can also make use of a model template that may have been done by yourself earlier or by another team member. So now that we've got a model, we don't have to refer back to the palette again. We can simply pick the color that we want to use and start painting directly into the frame. So here I can see exactly where things are. I can use the colors as and when I need them. I can make use of various types of tools, such as the Paint Unpainted tool, which will allow me to go a lot faster. For example, that tool can stop me from having to be very precise as to where I need to apply the paint. So for instance, here I can use this particular one to paint those two areas exactly at the same time. Same for the scarf and the cape. I can just draw a line across it and it will paint those areas for me straight away. And as you can see, just like that, my frame has been painted. Not forgetting the little tooth, and we've got, oh no, wait a minute, we are missing somewhere a shoe. And that's how you can paint very, very effectively in Harmony. Of course, in this case, as it could be the case for puppet animation, there are some other drawings or other frames that I need to paint as well. With Toon Boom Harmony, it can be very efficient to paint multiple frames at the same time. So to do that, I'm going to use the onion skin and extend the range of my onion skin to all of my previous frames and also all of my next upcoming frames. And so I'm going to use that to paint the ears of the bat on all the frames at the same time. So to do that, I'm going to use the Paint Unpainted tool and also use the Apply to All Drawing option. Make sure I'm on the color art and making sure that I'm selecting the color that I want to use. And so I'm going to use the onion skin to draw a line across all of the drawings that include my ears. And if I do that, as you can see, it's painted my ears on multiple drawings. Of course, some of them may have spilt over to other areas, but it's a lot easier for me to correct that than to actually draw every single one frame one by one. Now let's take a look at a painted version of our little bat. And you can see here that from this frame to this frame, she's now about to land on the gems over here. So let's play this animation from there to there. In this case, I might want to change the colors. To change the colors is extremely easy. The reason for that is thanks to the color ID that is applied for each color that we have chosen and created inside the palette. So for example, in real time, if I would like to change any specific color, let's say for example, we want to change the scarf color to something else, you simply have to go into the color itself and change it. Now, that color, thanks to the color ID system, will then identify all the areas where this color has been used and change it on the fly. Now, this can be used for many, many uses. First of all, to correct a color that maybe you didn't want to use, or also maybe to create some different skins for your character. But as you can see, it is very, very easy to change a specific color or even a bunch of colors if you needed to. While I am on the animation of the scarf, I also wanted to talk to you about the drawing substitution window. For example, if I select the cape loop over here and I go into the drawing substitution window, I can have access to all the drawings that you have created to make that loop. And at any time at all, I can go and select a different drawing to expose. And this will allow me at any time to show whichever drawing I would like to use. The drawing substitution window is very practical because you can see all of your drawings in thumbnail mode. You can also rename these drawings directly from here. You can reorder this if you want to, and you can just select the drawing that you would like to use at this moment in time. Now let's take a look at another style of animation, namely cutout animation, or also called puppet animation. This technique can be very useful for gaming, especially taking full advantage of our gaming SDK and export to Unity. In this instance, we have Luna, who is a puppet character, and being a puppet character, we have the different parts of the body separated so that we can then access them and animate them all separately. We've also created a hierarchy for Luna, where, for example, her hand is attached to the arm, and when the arm is moving, then the hand will be moving with it. This style of animation also requires rigging, which can be done on the timeline or in the node view. Now, the node view is possibly one of the most powerful aspects or tools in Toon Boom Harmony. It is a non-linear nodal view which allows you to organize your scene because all of these parts on the scene are made up of different nodes. So for example, you can see the head over here, eyes, the nose, the mouth. Every single element has an individual node. Now the node view can be used for rigging purposes. So for example, if you have the hand, so let's have a look at the right hand over here. The right hand is attached to what we call a peg. This is where the animation information will be housed. And the hand is attached via cable to the arm, which in turn is attached to the full body. It's a very simple rig, but very effective indeed. A very useful feature in Harmony 21, especially for gaming, is the scene markers. As you can see on the timeline, I have a whole bunch of markers at the top there in different colors. We also have a scene markers tab, which allow you to access the scene markers directly. If I click on one of them, let's say the idle one at the top there, you can see the playheads just directly positioning themselves so that I can play between start 14 and end 41, for example. So it gives me the ability to name the different animations on my timeline, separate them, start and stop at different times, and also set a duration if I want to. So if I wanted to go, for example, to the collision receiver at the end there, I can just click on there and play the animation like that, and it will loop that specific animation. This is very useful, especially when it comes to the export to Unity, which we will take a look at a bit later. One of the biggest advantages in using Toon Boom Harmony for your content are the animation tools themselves. In Cutout, we have the characters in different parts, and to move an element of that character, you would select that element, position it, and set a keyframe. For instance, in this character, you see she is moving up and down like that, back and forth, and her arms are moving up and down. You wouldn't necessarily rig the hands and the fingers separately so that you can animate them. However, what you would do is draw different hand positions for her and then access those positions whenever you want to. To do that in Harmony is very easy. You just use the drawing substitution window. So at any time you want in your animation, while you're doing some keyframe motion animation, you can change the hand. And as you can see there, for example, if I choose this hand, it will always follow the arm. So wherever that arm goes, the hand will go with it. For example, you can add a prop to her hand, like she's holding vinyl. You can add different hand positions, as I said. So that will also allow you to enrich your library and change whichever hand you want and expose it at any point in your animation. Another tool that you can use for the cutout animation process is the game bone deformer. Now, game bones are very practical for very obvious reasons. If I select this torso, for example, and show you the game bone on it, you'll have access to the controls, and you can then change the shape of this specific drawing to however you want. You can, of course, set the various joints in place and the placement of the bones so that it can move in the way you want. This will stop you from having to draw multiple drawings to represent the multiple positions that this character may have. You can also display multiple bones at the same time, such as the ones that we have on her feet over here. And so you can animate the feet separately using these game bones. Now, adding a game bone is very, very easy. So I'm going to add a game bone on her arm. All I need to do right here is to access the game bone controls, select the right type of deformation, and I just need to create a point there, and a point here. And there's my joint with my two bones. And all I need to do is now test it and see how it works. Now, what's great with deformation is that I can stretch and squash my drawings however I want to. Of course, I then need to make sure that the arm, wherever the arm moves, also takes the hand with it. And so to do that, I simply need to go into my node view, look for the hand. Here's my deformation, currently on the arm only. But I could make sure that the deformation also affects the hand. And so when I move, it will also move my hand with it. What's also great is that you can reset your position at any time and start from scratch. And if you don't like what the deformation is doing, that's absolutely fine. You can always unplug it, delete it, and your animation is, your character is as good as new. That's one of the powers of the node view, which is completely non-linear and non-destructive. Now, a few moments ago, I mentioned the fact that you can change multiple colors at the same time. And this leads into my next subject. If we go back to our palettes over here, you can see that Luna has a whole bunch of different palettes, including a palette which are called Luna Night. This palette was cloned and made darker so that every time Luna goes into, for example, into the night or into a darker room, she could be using this palette. And when she's outside in the sun or somewhere lighter, she can be using this palette. This is one of the things that you can do with skins, where you can change the various colors of your palette in order to represent different types of clothing. But not just. The skinning process allows you to change at any point in Unity, for example. You can change the appearance of your character and change to different skins. So for example, if I want to play this animation of Luna walking, I would like in different parts of the game that she's dressed differently with different types of clothes. So I can just set up my skinning system over here to have different types of clothing or objects that she's carrying. So for example, if I were to create a blue skin over here for her, it will change her entire outfit to a blue outfit with a heart as opposed to a skull. The animation remains exactly the same, it's just changing the skin. Same here, if we wanted to go to green, for example, you'll see that the skin will change to a different outfit altogether. So it's that simple. It's something that you can set up directly inside of Harmony and that you can then export to Unity later.